Hi, how's it going?
Well, not too bad.
How's Adrian Spence behaving himself this morning?
Well, it's only morning recess, but so far so good.
Coming for a cuppa?
Yeah, sure. Uh-oh, they're getting close now.
What are?
The parent-teacher interviews next Wednesday evening. Are you all prepared?
Yeah, sure. As best as I can be.
Aren't you just a little bit anxious about the interviews, though?
I suppose I am, but the trick is to be properly prepared, and then there's no drama, and both you and the parents get the most out of it.
You don't get much time, do you?
About 10 minutes for the average interview. You've got to be prepared or it's a waste of time, and that's a pity, because it really is an ideal opportunity for both you and the parents to exchange information about the students. It's surprising what you can learn at times. It can really help with your understanding of the kids.
Well, I got my reports in on time. They're with Alice Van Sign now. I think she said they have to go out today.
Yep, that's so the parents can see them in plenty of time before the interviews. They have to make up their mind who they want to see, especially if there's any problems.
That's the part that worries me, the problems.
Tell them the truth. Make sure you've got your facts right and be honest with them and you'll be all right. If there is any bad news, make sure you work out a plan of action for the future with them to rectify the situation and then follow it up later to see if it's working. You'll be right.
A willing pupil. Able to construct sentences and paragraphs and needs to take care with use of tenses.
Has obtained satisfactory results.
Hard-working.
Can do more when he tries.
Able to complete addition and subtraction tasks and would benefit from practicing multiplying single numbers.
Achieving very pleasing results. Work on home projects has been of high standard.
Oh, I know about keeping attendance records, test results, examples of work, all that sort of thing. That doesn't worry me.
Well, what does then?
It's whether I'll be able to get on with them okay. You only get a few minutes to hit it off with them. It scares me a bit.
You'll find that most of the parents are more scared of the situation than you are. They're not trained for it, and in many cases they won't feel prepared for it.
Must be hard being a parent. Most don't get any training, and they more or less have to learn as they go along, don't they?
That's true, and that's all the more reason why you have to make sure that you don't try and bluff them or stand over them. You really have to go out of your way to try and achieve an effective two-way communication with them.
Hi, Marie.
Oh, hi.
How's Peter? Still on afternoon shift?
Oh, yeah. Another 2 weeks. Looks like I'll be going to the parent-teacher interviews by myself again.
But you know you don't have to wait for formal meetings each year. You can make an appointment any time during the day.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. Anyway, you going?
Tim's got a few problems that I want to sort out, so I've got to go for sure.
It's a pain sometimes, but it's necessary. You've got to go, haven't you?
Yes, that's true. Especially when they confuse you with all that teacher jargon and then sidetrack you away from what you want to talk about onto something completely different.
I know. And what used to upset me last year was that Mr. Fraser, he would persist in comparing our youngest, James, with Luke.
They're like chalk and cheese, aren't they?
True. And just because Luke was the sort of outgoing kid the year before, he expected Jamie to be the same.
That's not fair, is it? You know, he's not the only one that the teachers tend to compare.
Actually, I saw a current affairs program on telly last weekend that would be a great help to anyone who felt unsure of themselves in discussions like that, parent or teacher alike.
Hello and welcome to the show. Our special guest this afternoon is Dr. Peter Hoy.
Good afternoon, Peter.
Good afternoon.
As I understand it, Peter, you run your own company that specialises in improving human performance. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. We specialise in teaching communication skills to a whole range of people. Housewives, salespersons, teachers, even members of the clergy.
And what are people trying to achieve when they come to you for this sort of training?
Well, we teach them 3 main skills: how to listen to others, how to assert themselves, and how to resolve conflicts.
That's interesting. Tell us something about listening to others.
Well, that's a whole field in itself. But you can break that down once again into three main areas. Attending, following and reflecting. Now, attending is giving your whole physical attention to the person you're listening to. The posture of your body, eye contact, and the layout of the environment you're in when you're talking. Now, following is to encourage the other person to say what's on their mind using various phrases. For example, you might say, "You seem worried. Care to talk about it?" And then encourage them to keep on talking with minimal interruptions like, "Oh, and really, for instance, and so on."
And reflecting?
All right, now reflective listening is one of the most important aspects of human communication. See, quite frequently, a speaker doesn't say exactly what they thought they said. And also, a listener doesn't always hear exactly what the speaker said. So, reflective listening is when the listener repeats back what the speaker has just said using different but similar words.
You mean paraphrasing?
Yes, exactly. As a check at the end of a conversation, you summarise back to the speaker what you believe they said, so there's no doubt that what was heard was actually intended by the speaker.
What about emotions? Aren't they important too?
Oh, they certainly are, yes. To be a good reflective listener, you have to reflect the other person's emotions as well as what they say. The real skill is in picking which to respond to at any given moment. We teach our clients that it's vital to deal with feelings before they try to come up with practical solutions.
Interesting. But how to assert themselves? That sounds a little formidable.
No, not really. Each of us has our own amount of life space. Now, a submissive person surrenders it to others by showing a lack of respect for their own needs and rights. An aggressive person expresses their needs, ideas and feelings at the expense of others. So what we teach is how to be assertive and defend your own rights and personal space without abusing or dominating others or being aggressive.
And how does one go about doing that?
What, being assertive?
Yes. Is there a technique to it?
Once again, it's a three-stage thing. Okay, if someone's upsetting you, you first of all identify the behaviour, secondly, disclose your feelings, and finally, state the effects the behaviour is having on you.
Well, when I get home, the sink's always full of dishes that the kids have left for me.
Yeah.
How do I handle a situation like that?
All right, try this on them. When you don't clean up your dishes, that's the behaviour. I get very annoyed, that's the feeling. Because it makes more work for me, that's the effect. Yeah? So with that type of statement, you're defending your own rights without treading on the kids' toes by shaming or blaming them. And most importantly, you aren't telling them what to do.
You leave it up to them to come up with a solution.
That's it exactly, yes. And usually they'll come up with a solution that will preserve their self-respect and meet your needs as well.
Is it always as simple as that?
Well, no, it isn't, of course. Remember, it's just, the stages are what's important here. I mean, sometimes three simple statements won't be enough.
Well, the third aspect you mentioned was conflict. That's another frightening sort of word.
Oh, not at all, not really. I mean, look, it's always much better to engage in appropriate verbal conflict rather than pretend your feelings don't exist. Every human being is going to experience conflict when feelings or emotions clash. I mean, that's inevitable. So a bit of conflict, if it's used constructively, can even be the basis on which to develop a meaningful relationship.
That may be so, but how do you control or manage it so it doesn't get out of hand and then become destructive?
Well, the first thing to do is to separate the emotional components away from the facts of the matter.
Separate the emotional aspect.
Yes. When a person is emotionally aroused, their body chemistry and blood circulation undergo changes so that they are perfectly equipped for an all-in brawl, but very poorly equipped for logical problem solving.
So it's important to resolve the emotional aspects first.
Yes. Treat the other person with respect. Listen until you understand their feelings and opinions. Reflect back to them what they've said. Show that you understand their feelings. Let them think about what you've said. And when they finally feel they've been heard, then it's your turn to put your point of view and express your feelings.
Well, that certainly makes sense.
I mean, quite often you can even make it simpler by arranging with the other person that each will listen to what the other has to say and then repeat it back to them before they speak.
Right. It sounds a little like establishing a set of rules for a fair fight.
Well, yes, that's it exactly. Once both sides understand the other's feelings, the emotions usually subside, and then you can get on with resolving the substantive issues with a bit of collaborative problem solving.
Well, look, we're running out of time, Peter. Could you give us the last few words on collaborative problem solving?
All right. Define the problem in terms of needs, not solutions. Brainstorm possible solutions. Select the solutions which best fit both parties' needs and then check the possible consequences. Plan who will do what and when. Implement the plan and check at a later date to see how well the solution turned out. And if the problem hasn't been resolved to the satisfaction of both parties, redo the process until it is.
Right, so in other words, keep the lines of communication open.
Exactly.
Well, thank you, Peter. That was really fascinating.
Thank you.
Next week, our special guest will talk to us about violence.
Well, the seating's right. They can sit there. I'll sit here, about 3 feet away, no desk between us, just a low side table for the paperwork. Hair and grooming okay? Good. Then remember, just a warm, friendly greeting, look attentive, and we're away.
Please sit down.
I'm sorry to bother you. It's not really a big problem, and it may be nothing worth worrying about. It's just that Jane is so shy.
Shy? This is one very shy and tentative lady. I'll have to draw her out carefully, or I'll never find out what's really bothering her.
Well, I was wondering how she's getting on with the other children. I don't want to be a problem, but it does worry me. I don't want to cause a problem and have them take it out on poor Jane. Not like that dreadful Miss Harrington all over again.
You wicked girl, Mary. Oh, don't tell me you're shy. You're just plain lazy. Now do as you're told and go out there and play with the other children.
Yes, Miss Harrington.
So you're worried about how she's getting along with the other children?
Yes. I was terribly shy as a child, and I'm worried that Jane may be having the same problem.
Need to be careful here. Maybe it's Mum who's got the problem and not Jane. You'd better check a little further.
We've made a list of the things we want to discuss with you.
Uh-oh, they seem to be hot on the trail of something.
Last year we had a problem with Mr. Fraser, and we don't want to fall into the same trap again this year. Do we, Paul?
No, not again.
You had a problem last year.
Yes, Peter was having a problem with maths.
We weren't told about it till late in the year. We were very annoyed because it was almost too late to do anything about it.
That's a pretty straightforward, assertive statement. I'd be upset too if I wasn't told until it was too late.
You felt angry and you want it to stop from happening again.
So you felt shy as a child and you worried that Jane may be the same?
Yes. I worry a lot about it.
Well, based on what I've seen, I don't think you've got a thing to worry about. Jane seems to be a very well-adjusted child who gets along fine with everyone. I don't think you've got a thing to worry about at this stage in that area.
Do you really think so?
Well, she's always got lots of friends to play with in the yard at recess, and she has 1 or 2 good friends who always choose to sit with her in class.
Oh, well, that's good.
But if you are worried about it, what we can do is this. We'll sit down and we'll work out a plan of action for the future.
So we want to make sure that if there's a problem this year, we get plenty of warning.
You want some form of early warning?
Yes, if you could drop me a note or something.
Yes, I'm sure that should be no problem at all.
When Matthew doesn't do his assignments, I get quite upset because it creates problems with the other children when they don't do their assignments and they follow him.
Well, I don't care. You're all the same. Slightest problem, it's a parent's fault.
Oh, God, this one's going to be aggressive. Make sure you keep your cool and reflect her feelings calmly and quietly until she's cooled down.
So you resent teachers looking to you?
Well, you get paid to handle that sort of problem. It's your job.
So you feel it's my problem because I'm paid to do a job?
I suppose so.
I mean, I can't do anything with him.
Oh?
Every time I ask him to do something, he runs away.
She seems to be cooling down a bit, so now's the time to reassert the problem. I get upset when Matthew doesn't do his assignments because it disrupts the rest of the class.
Well, what can I do? I've got to work to support him. How do I know when his assignments are due?
I have to let her know that I really understand how she feels. So you feel you'd like to help, but you can't.
Well, is there any way that you can let me know what he's supposed to do so I can check it?
Yes, we can do that. I can give Matthew a list of his assignments for the week to show you, and you can check that.
Maybe if he knows I've got a list to check, that'll stop him playing football every night after school till I get home.
Okay. Well, what we can do is, first of all, I'll get a list together.
And another thing I wanted to let you know, I'm going to be away this month on a job interstate. Last time I was away for a while, Peter missed me and it showed up in his schoolwork.
We wanted to make sure you knew about that beforehand. And we also want to know if you have any other problems with him so that we can get onto it before Paul has to go away.
Well, I'm glad you told me. We need as much exchange of information with parents as possible. But at this stage, he's doing just fine. If he does get off the track while you're away, I'll be sure to let you know immediately.
You need to feel confident in the teacher.
You don't want them to take it out on the kids, do you?
I wish he would take more time to explain the work. You don't want to be sidetracked, do you?
You'd think she'd have at least got her facts right.
Well, I felt as if she really cared. When I think of the old dragon that used to teach me.
Do they really know what goes on in the yard?
You've got to give parents the facts.
Don't try to spare their feelings.
Make sure you've got the right kid.
Parents can give a real insight into a child's strengths or weaknesses if we just make it easy for them to tell us.
It certainly helps to get a better understanding of the kids.
Sometimes you have to work really hard to get a good understanding of how the parents feel, but that's the basis of establishing a good relationship with them. Then you can start to work with them to really achieve some results with the children.
That's true.
Mary Winton was one of the first people I saw last night. She was such a shy person, I really had to work hard on using Dr. Hoy's reflective listening to find out what her real concern was and draw her out. But in the end, we achieved something.
It's such a relief. I know it may be silly of me, but I've been so worried. It's been worth the effort. Well, school's certainly very different now, isn't it?
Yes, it certainly is.
I'm very glad to have met you.
Jane really didn't have a problem, did she?
No. It seems her mother had a bad school experience as a child. But I think we'll have a good working relationship in the future, and that'll be good for Jane. Anyway, you seem to have survived all right. How did your interviews go?
One or two interesting ones. Peter Austin's parents were fairly assertive about what happened to Peter last year, and they made it quite clear that they didn't want it to happen again this year.
Yes, Peter was having a problem with maths.
We weren't told about it till late in the year. We were very annoyed because it was almost too late to do anything about it.
What did you do?
Well, I listened to them until I felt I understood their problem. I let them know I understood, and then I arranged to give them an early warning if Peter had any problems this year.
So we want to make sure that if there's a problem this year, we get plenty of warning.
You want some form of early warning?
Yes, if you could drop me a note or something.
I'm sure we can arrange that without any problem at all.
You seem to handle that all right.
It went okay, but I heard Helen Spence got a little steamed up last night.
Yeah, she was a little heated at first. All the same, I wouldn't want to be in her shoes, on her own, out working, and having Matthew to contend with as well. He is a real handful.
Well, I don't care. You're all the same. Slightest problem's the parents' fault.
So how did you finish up?
Well, it wasn't very pleasant at first. She was quite aggressive. But instead of being aggressive myself, I tried really hard to keep my cool. I had to concentrate really hard to make myself listen to what was behind all that aggression. And eventually she was able to talk about what was really bothering her. We worked out a plan of action between us. We'll try it for a while and see how we go. I have to see her again in the future.
Keep attendances, records, work done.
But you don't want to be cruel.
Save your advice till the right moment. You should try to start from where the parents are at.
Use an interpreter if necessary.
Parents want their kids to fit in socially.
Use language the parents can understand.